Hi guys, welcome back to Gardening with Creations by DX & Co. Today I'm going to show you how to thin out and transplant some pepper plants. Look at this nice healthy root system we got going on this. You can see I've got actually three pepper plants growing in here when I really only need one, obviously. And from there, I thought I only dropped 2 seeds in these, but you know, stuff happens. Sometimes we get a third one in there on accident. But I always like to start 2 seeds in these pods, and this is what happens. So at this stage now, they are really starting to fight for nutrients, the nutrients that start in these pods, things like that. So a lot of people at this stage would just pick the healthiest of the 3, which is probably this one right here, and pluck the rest. But what I want to do is give these guys some more room in this root ball, some more room to grow out. So I'm going to get them transplanted today, and I'll show you what that looks like. And while I'm doing so, I'm going to try to save these other ones. So these ones are some mixed color bell peppers, and I'm hoping to get a nice crop out of those this year. So I'm actually going to try to save as many as I can. I did 1 full row of the 72 Jiffy pods with these, so I have 2, 4, 6 of these pods. And I'm going to try to save as many as possible with transplanting, and I'll show you that. So bear with me, let me get some soil started and I'll show you what we're doing. Okay, so some of you guys will remember I used this particular one here to transplant my red cherry tomatoes. You can see the label here, the original label we made. And I happen to have one in my garden from last year, so I just kind of set that there as well. That I'm going to stick in this row so I know what that is. So, and I also have an apple tree, a pink lady apple, that I put in there as well. So what I have left in this is obviously 8 cells that I'm going to go ahead and put my peppers in, and I'm going to make sure that my labels are there appropriately. Obviously with each cell having their individual, individual dirt in there, it doesn't really matter that I'm putting them next to my tomato plants, because eventually they're going to get transplanted. But as you can see, we didn't lose any of our tomato plants. All their true leaves are starting to grow in quite nicely. What I'll do actually when I go to transplant those is trim off some of these lower leaves here and plant these deeper in those roots. You can see that I've got some extra starters that are coming up, probably from some of those pods that didn't germinate initially. So I'm going to have to thin those out eventually as well too. But you can see, I'll reference that video below here or at the end of the video. You can check out how I transplanted those as well if you'd like. But today we're going to get those green peppers transplanted, or those mixed yellow or mixed colored peppers, excuse me, into these cells and try to thin some of them out. So I'm going to actually keep them over here in my larger tray, just so that the soil doesn't overflow as I'm packing, because as you can see from there, I got the soil level a little bit lower than what the top of them would be, because as I'm planting these, I'm going to be backfilling some of that soil. Now, unlike the tomato plants, we can't bury these down deep. We only want to bury the roots, and so that's what we're going for today. So I'm going to go ahead and start with this one I showed you initially. I'm going to go ahead and always peel off these mesh nettings from the Jiffy. Go slow. As you can see, this nice healthy root. I'm going to go ahead and peel that off without trying not to damage those roots, especially with 3 plants in there. I don't know which root is which, but I'm just going to go slow here and try to get all that off. And you can see I saved a lot of the roots there. So, but now the key is I've got 3 plants in here and they're all very close together. So I have to break this up. So I'm going to slowly, it helps if this is moist and not dried out. So this was watered about 2 days ago. So these are nice and moist still. I keep all this tray either inside the house under the grow lights, same with these tomato plants, everything. Or if it's nice enough out, hitting the 45s to 50s, I move this stuff to the greenhouse to get a little bit of natural air and sunshine, because I have a non-heated greenhouse at the moment. Alright, so I broke off. All this is just dirt. I didn't damage any roots in the process. And I've exposed those 3 there that I can now really start to dive in and try to get to. But I'm going very slow, as you can see. Just slowly starting to break this up. And I can feel the root system that I'm tugging against here, so I'm kind of breaking that up to try to get one out at a time. And I managed to pull 2 out together. So I'm just going to slowly try to separate those without damaging it. If you don't damage the roots too bad, they will grow new root system. But there you have it. I was able to separate that one out nice and slowly. Here's the other one. It still has a root system on there that's not damaged as of yet. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to, since this isn't a ball that I'm putting in, I'm going to take this cell here that's a little bit higher up. I'm actually going to add a little bit more dirt to it to raise that up, because like I said, I don't want to bury this down. I just want to raise that up a little bit, but get that root system in there. I got some dirt here next to me. Gonna go ahead and get that in there, stamp it down just a little bit. Now I'm gonna take my finger, poke a hole about to the tip of my finger there. Sorry. And now I'm gonna get that root system in there. I'm going to pack that down just around that stem to try to support it. And see if you guys can see that there. There you have it right here. I've got one perfectly planted. So I'm going to move on to the next one here. And I'm going to follow along and try to get all of these here transplanted. These are marigolds. They're going to need to come into their own pots pretty soon. And these are some other flowers that didn't do as well in this type of system. I'm going to use this tray hopefully, and I'm going to do a different type of system, and I'll show you that. These flowers didn't do quite as well. These are the poppy flowers, not the style I would go for in the future. And the Johnny jump ups aren't doing quite as well either. So great for vegetables. Not sure I'd use them so much for any other types of flowers other than marigolds. They do really well. But I'll show you another video on that in the future. So I'm going to go ahead and get these transplanted, guys, using that method that I just showed you. Try to separate out some of these as possible. I might even take a couple of my extra ones, put them in some styrofoam cups with holes in the bottom. Check out that video I showed you before on how to create your own DIY cups. And I'll be back as soon as I get these planted. I'll show you. Okay, guys, so there you have it. I wanted to show you the finished getting those transplanted. I was able to save all those pods that I showed you. Now pay close attention down here to the base of each of these. Notice how I did not bury those stems too deep. You do not want to get stem rot. You don't want to end up losing that whole plant. It is not like tomatoes. You see all those hairs on that stem of the tomato there. Those can be buried. Those will grow roots. Pepper plants are not the same. You need to be careful when you're transplanting them that you don't bury that too deep. Just make sure you're getting the roots, and then pack that soil down around it so that I transplanted. So like I said, I was able to get those transplanted. I put my tag in there so I remember where's my division line, and obviously I have my Pink Lady Apple tag, so I know that one's there. I got all transplanted but these two that are growing out of this one. Unfortunately I ran out of cups. Got those two transplanted, but I was able to save every single seedling short of these two, which I can still save obviously. I haven't lost any yet, so I'll update you guys on that progress. This one's my favorite one so far. Obviously it's starting to grow pretty well, and so is this one here and this one here. Obviously I'll be watching their progress, get those under the grow lights pretty soon. Not tonight, but first thing tomorrow morning. And typically you should water them in once you first transplanted. This soil is pretty moist still, so I don't need to worry about watering them in just yet. Not to mention these were pretty healthy watered, like I mentioned a couple of days ago. A lot of people wonder how you water these pods or keep them moist. I will give you a tip. I was misting them, spraying them with a mist bottle. It wasn't working. Unfortunately, a lot of these pods dried out, which I think is why we had some false starts on some of them. I found that actually it's a lot better if every couple of days you actually water in between these pods here. Do not water directly on top because you don't want to damage the plants themselves. If you water in between, it absorbs from the bottom. It actually soaks in to the tray and it absorbs up those bottom ones. So it's a great way to do it if in case anybody's wondering. But be careful of that stem rot, guys, and make sure when you're transplanting plants that you do so. And be sure to thin your plants out, whether or not you're going to go ahead and take the method of plucking one and picking the healthiest and plucking the other. Be careful when you're doing that. Or you're going to thin them out like this by transplanting if you have the means. So if you want to try to save your plants, I think in a time like this, it's better to try to get as many crops going as possible. That way, if you lose one to disease or something like that, you've got a backup there. Or you can thin them out when you go to actually put them in the ground. Like I said, temperatures are way too cold, especially for pepper plants right now. So I'm going to try to get these healthy, and I'll show you how to prune these and concentrate the growth as they get a little bit larger. So there you have it, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please hit like and subscribe for more content to come in the future. Make sure you hit that notification bell so you don't miss any more content and update. Share this video with some friends that you might find it to be helpful. And as always, guys, I hope you guys are staying safe out there and enjoying your gardens. Take care.